What is up, all you gamers? As per usual, welcome back to the weekly Esports Rewind podcast, where we talk about a lot of topics at length, and we really enjoy doing so. What we like to do to start off episodes is we read off all of your comments. So if you guys want to, leave one, a nice one, a mean one, we really don't care. Last week,
maybe a little bit.
maybe it could be nice, but last week we talked a lot about Nick Mercs versus Huskers. So a lot of comments about that, and apparently one person, Dive, said, quote unquote, another esport talk video about me. Jake Sucky is obsessed with me, which is apparently something that Huskers said after you did a video on Nick Mercs versus Huskers and their most recent beef. So
classic.
Next time, click on the freaking video.
Or just know who. Some people watch the videos and still comment underneath the videos that are me of like, Jake, come on, man. It's like, okay, guys. Speaking of Jake, I'll go with Connor's. I pulled a couple, but Connor Green said, Jake is an absolute gamer, to which I have to say, maybe he is a gamer, but hopefully you don't think he's very good.
Connor, we hope you didn't drink too much before last episode, but we hope you're back for this one. As per usual, hope you guys all enjoy. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. Probably the biggest news this past week, but there was so much this past weekend, especially with Valorant. One we really want to touch on, though, is the signing of TimTheTatman to Complexity Gaming, which should be live by the time this goes live, unless it's somehow delayed yet again. It's been in the works for quite some time that we have known about this, and a gigantic move.
Was that a gigantic move?
All the words associated with great things are huge. They're big. They're gigantic, and it's unironic. Okay?
Poor Tim at this point. It's just so bad. All these headlines now are going to be like the biggest signing ever.
The biggest creator to ever sign to Complexity.
But this is huge. I mean, at the end of the day, I know it's impossible. At the end of the day, this is a massive move that even I didn't really see coming, because when you think of big creator signing, obviously your first thoughts are going to be FaZe, 100 Thieves, LG, like all these massive content creator orgs versus something like Complexity, right?
Yeah, and this one does make sense, but no one was guessing it top of mind because, yeah, you think of the big boys who maybe you're going to pay some big bucks. I'm sure this deal was not cheap, and it makes so much sense when you look back on the details of not only was it late last year. It was Complexity responding when Tim was first looking around for an organization. Around the same time, it was leaked that 100 Thieves had interest, apparently could not come to terms. Maybe he has to not be in Florida. Maybe he has to be in LA or a different state, or maybe not enough money. Who knows how that deal fell through? But not only was Complexity responding then, but a co-owner, an investor, a shareholder in Complexity Gaming is Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones owns the Dallas Cowboys, and that's all I have to say for you guys to understand.
You've got all these red lines connecting.
The stars have god dang aligned for Tim, and this is just it makes so much sense for Complexity. And I wish it was a FaZe, or I wish it was 100 Thieves, right? But still, from a brand perspective, like TimTheTatman carved himself an organization offer based off his favorite NFL team.
Right.
One of the first to do it.
And what I find interesting is we have him going to Complexity in this, which, like you said, does make sense, but kind of came out of left field a little bit. And I just hope at the end of the day, it can be as productive. I don't think we know at this point what the details are of his signing. Like, did he get co-ownership is what I kind of want, like a little piece of the pie, because we've seen that be really successful with people like Nick Mercs, obviously, who I think FaZe has done an awesome job with, versus, again, LG maybe has not capitalized so much on XQC's viewership. And so we have someone like Tim who pulls so much, and I'm hoping has, this good deal, because I would love to see this be beneficial for both sides.
And I would love to see it be long-term. So we will find out those details, and I guess we'll see exactly what those details are. But TimTheTatman now signed with Complexity, and it's not the teams that all of you guys probably expected. Something that we really got to talk about, because so many others, especially pro players, getting involved on this. Probably one of the more dramatic situations this past weekend, which was probably drawn out and exaggerated a bit, was some trash talk coming from 100 Thieves member, and also during her view party, that was Kyedae. And trash talk is how I put it. You and me actually differ very heavily on this, which I think is great, because we were almost arguing over the weekend, having two different sides.
Right.
And that's okay. You are often the one to call me on how I feel about things, and I hope vice versa. So I guess a little bit of background. Kyedae, during her viewer party, I believe 50,000 plus viewers, and she decided to give a little the banter to Envy member Crashies. And she said, I believe the correct quote was, "Shut the F up, you scrawny F."
Gotta give Envy credit though.
No,
Yeah.
100%.
They're insane.
Envy.
Dialed in. He keeps landing.
Shut the Anyways,
Which right away you're already laughing about this.
I'm sorry.
And so it did follow up and again, please do not send hate, guys. We just want to be able to talk about things that happen in the news, things that are big topics. It blew up even more when Envy member Ye tweeted about this and said maybe something you probably should not have done. Also saying that Crashies apparently has a severe food allergy, which might also influence the fact that he is a skinnier guy. This goes even further when Tens then responds, and he brings up a very old situation, but I think he brings it up for a good reason, where he brings up the situation where Marved, another Envy member, previously when he was with FaZe, he was exposed for saying some very distasteful things about Kyedae. And he was pointing this out because when that happened, there was no viral backlash. There was a lot of backlash, but it wasn't
to this degree.
It was not to this degree.
Yeah.
Marv said that he wanted to, Marv said he wanted to F Tens' girl on LAN. And it did not blow up in a fashion that it was Kyedae calling a player a scrawny F.
Yeah.
And so that's why that was brought up. A lot of people on different sides of this. Just want to say, you guys can have your side, all right? You and me went back and forth because I did think it was not a thing that Kyedae should have said. And at the end of the day, she apologized. Crashy said it was all good. But before the apology and before everything cleared up, you and me kind of had a different stance on that.
Well, I think that... So she comes out and she is on an official stream, which is the only kind of part for me where it gets a little bit weird of, yes, maybe it's not super appropriate because you're an official stream, declared by Riot or however you want to say that. And you call one of the players in the event a scrawny F. But also I feel like they've got to know what they're signing up for when they have all these different streamers doing these watch parties. And so having trash talk come out of this and having someone so excited that they trash talk a little bit, it's just a weird balance when so many people in esports say, oh, trash talk is so good for the scene. We want trash talk. But then she calls someone a scrawny F and immediately everyone's feelings are hurt. And it's like, do you want trash talk or do you just want to choose the trash talk that you want?
I think where I came from on this, and I had a couple seltzers, I was at a wedding, is that she's not, you know how we talk about social media managers like Sentinels maybe going a bit too far?
Yeah.
She's not a player. She's not one of the pros, and she is a streamer on an official stream saying this stuff. Where I think it's a bit different of an owner like Nadeshot or Carlos or a player. If this is player between pro and pro, I think it's a bit more well received. I think that's fair to say. I think also, though, if you really look at her stream, you probably kind of realize she knew she went too far like right away. And then internet does what internet do. It just got out of hand really fast.
Right. It was this gut reaction, I think, in the moment, in the heat of the moment, where you just get so upset about something and you let something out. It's like, oh, you scrawny little frick.
She is really, really into her teams.
And then, exactly, which I think she does have a big part in Valorant right now, a big role that she's been playing as such a big female creator in the space, and hyping that up and also getting more female viewership, I think really does help. And how she's so involved in 100 Thieves and Sentinels because of Tins, obviously. And she really does get really involved in the games, which is great for the viewership. I haven't compared people like, I don't know what her watch party was like compared to maybe Shroud viewership-wise.
It was up there.
So she pulls a lot in the scene, which I think is really good for the scene and the audience that she brings. But I do think she regretted it immediately. I also think, I have to say, I think that some of the Envy members took advantage of the situation. Like Ye coming out, he knew what he could do by saying, oh, he has a food allergy. Like he knew that was a low blow and that people would give her backlash for it. And maybe that is true, but also 1 in 5 people have food allergies, And so it just seemed like both sides were taking easy shots at each other, which I think is fine. I think Ye was fine to call her out. I think Tins was fine to fire back too.
Tins' shot was an easy shot to take too.
Yeah.
That was kind of irrelevant, but I understood why he brought it up.
Exactly. So I think all these were fine shots to take at each other, but when so many other people get involved and when people effing audience members start sending death threats to the people involved, it's like, guys, you have to chill out. Either you want the trash talk or you don't. It's fine for them to trash each other. We don't need any official apologies or anything like that. Like, just let it be. And the next time they match up, it'll be huge. Every time 100 Thieves and Envy, every time Sentinels and Envy, like, it's going to be huge every time.
The scrawny memes are not going to stop. And they're hard not to say because I did feel bad. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think you and me had a bit different. You definitely thought apologies were not needed. I thought one was. I'm still glad, though, after all of this, that she clarified her situation.
Yeah.
She apologized. And huge credit to Crashies, the guy who is kind of just sitting back in all of this. And at the end of the day, he just goes, hey, it's all good. Let's just focus on some Valorant. So I think the most credit of anyone in this situation certainly goes to him. And yeah, what did you guys think about the situation? Keep it calm, keep it breezy, but certainly a lot of drama this past weekend in Valorant. Nadeshot was a busy boy this past weekend. He was saying a lot. Actually, speaking of Kyedae, he had some amazingly funny moments on her viewer party, which I love the fact that it's probably not good to give an owner his own viewer party. It's a bit of a conflict of interest, but then he just can go on his players and say a lot of stuff. He was super fun to watch. His Hunter Thieves had some good comeback moments during the event. Actually, one of the things he said that was most notable was a bit of a calling out of Mr. G2 Carlos. I believe a semi, quote unquote, not word for word here, is he actually randomly, after Kyedae said that Nade needs to trash talk his own players a bit more for banter to get impressions and go viral on Twitter, Nade says no, Carlos knows nothing about competition. He's never even won a major.
That's true. Maybe you need to just start trash talking your team, Matt.
Taking the time,
no.
there they go.
Carlos doesn't know anything about competition. God never won a major.
He's going to be worried about going to tuck himself in towards the site, but there's a player just walking that smoke, and it's going to be Zeke. Does do well, but now he can go Nitro.
I believe that's a reference to a Valorant major because, what did you think about it when he first said it?
I don't know. I just feel kind of bad for Nadeshot because he's getting in the ring with a trash talker who's been trash talking for a while and trolling for a while. That's like, I don't know if Nade knows what he's signing up for in this situation.
I think he knows exactly.
You think so?
Because later on in the stream, I mean, he just admits it. Yeah, we already knew this. I haven't blocked. Like,
oh yeah, right.
Which is kind of in most situations, that's an instant W for the guy who for the other guy. If you had to block a guy, you couldn't stand his banter enough. But he also continues to talk about how Carlos is obsessed with him, and which is, I mean, G2 has used Nadeshot quite a bit, as we do for some content, but they do it for trash talk, which apparently he just, at one point he's talked about in his past, I don't need that to ruin my mental. I don't need to see that on my timeline, which I do respect. But if you're going to have him blocked and then randomly out of nowhere in a very, very popular viewer stream, just go, he knows nothing about competition, to an org owner who is probably the single most successful European org owner in League of Legends, is kind of funny.
It's probably been brewing for a little while. That's the vibe you get of like, oh, he had that stored away like in him and it just came out on stream. Maybe he didn't mean it to, but it is just, I find that 100 Thieves, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I just haven't seen all of it, but they typically, I'm thinking about this as I'm saying it, don't trash talk as much as other orgs, but then I start thinking, oh, but they got involved with Hastro and Envy. And
they do with Valorant. They do, like,
to a degree.
Yeah.
But even then, I still feel like they're kind of nicer about things, or I feel like, and this could be complete conjecture or whatever, but maybe 100 Thieves tries to steer away from that in general, like Nadeshot is saying. Like, he tries not to engage too much with it. He just blocked Carlos, which think of that as you will. But it's just funny to see him, coming out and flexing on him. We also saw the other flex, right, this weekend about the we're going to go back to being a hoodie org now or something like that.
Like, he was, what was his tweet about? It's something about hoodies again.
Yeah.
But still, I should know the freaking wording. But he had a lot of flexes this past weekend. Ironically, following our last story, this is trash talk that I always love because Carlos never gives it up. He later went to Reddit because that's the only place that Nadeshot can see him.
Right.
And he was talking about how they want a 1v1, which I'm like, Nadeshot would never, but I would love to freaking see that. Like, I love this banter. Nadeshot knows it's going to be used for headlines, so I get it because we're still even talking about it. But can you imagine a 1v1 between two org owners with who's on the line, right? Like, that'd be so fun. Like, pink slips, you know?
It would be fun just to see, even more than just them, now that we're thinking about it, multiple owners from different teams.
Yes.
Who, like, none of them, they're all, for the most part, have been gamers in their life and maybe have competed even professionally in their life.
Yeah.
And so to see these, quote unquote, old timers now in their ring again against each other would just be kind of funny, especially if everyone took it lightheartedly, which I think maybe Nadeshot and G2 would draw ridiculous viewership in this situation, so it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, and you'd have a 1v1 best of 3, so you do obviously Call of Duty, League of Legends, boom, it's tied 1-1 going into the tiebreaker, which obviously would be Valorant, and both guys have played. I think right now Carlos would have the edge. I think Nadeshot needs to put some practice in.
Yeah, probably.
But either way, another trash talking battle between Nadeshot and Carlos. Who do you guys think won this time? Nadeshot says Carlos knows nothing about competition and hasn't even won a Valorant major. Speaking of the devil, when it comes to, wow, all of our stories are kind of following each other to a certain degree. Something needed to be talked about because it was the same day that G2, for the first time of any team on LAN, took down Sentinels in Valorant, which was tremendous.
For a map, right?
Yeah, this was actually the same day they beat them in a series.
Oh, okay.
Which, I mean, the day prior they beat them.
Gotcha.
Confusing timelines, right? But either way, it was huge news because, speaking of trash talk, Sentinels and G2 kill the game. Everyone watching them in Valorant. Well, unfortunately, the same day, it was G2 then, brought to us by Jacob Wolf, apparently being accused of tampering in the LEC in League of Legends. So talk about a freaking roller coaster ride.
We kind of mentioned this in the background. No flack to anyone here, but it kind of seemed interestingly timed where you saw this big, great news about G2 over here. Everyone's talking about G2, and it's like, oh yeah, also tampering, by the way.
I don't know if Jake planned it, but props. I mean,
I know.
It's pretty good timing.
And so that came out, basically the situation being Mad Lions in a team owners meeting. So this wasn't even an official complaint issued to Riot or anything like that. Came forward and said, hey, accused G2 of having tampered, which, if y'all don't know, is kind of engaging with a player, a degree of poaching, as G2 is unfortunately known for at this point in time. They've had a history of poaching, which I know one happened back in the CSGO scene, which I don't know if were you doing your news thing back then?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
So we had it. I don't even remember the situation, but this was back in like 2016, 2017, I believe. 2017, something like that, because 2016 they had some LEC accusations, and then they had CSGO accusations, and then they really had the big falling out in like 2019, where I think it was Perks and G2 were accused of poaching.
And they all kind of just ended up being accusations, and it became a freaking meme.
Yeah.
Like G2 poached eggs, or what? It was some kind of freaking meme, and nothing actually ever came from it. I greatly remember the CSGO one because it was the owner, and I believe the team has since gone out of business, but I covered it back in the day where the owner himself took to Twitter and was like, stop poaching my players.
Oh, yeah.
And there was nothing that ever officially came from it. So it does make you curious, and it's certainly not a great look. But at the tail end of this, it's not anything official from Riot's side, which is, of course, the side that really matters.
Yeah.
I want to know more details.
And so essentially they kind of were petitioning Riot to enforce these rules and make them stronger. And they took a vote. The vote was 8-2. So 8 team owners said yes. 2 team owners said no. That being G2 was one of them, and Vitality was the other. Vitality saying that they just didn't feel like the rules were being enforced to begin with, and so they didn't need stronger ones because they just need to enforce the current ones better. And so that was their reasoning. But of course, G2 also said no. But like you say, it's so funny how they've just embraced this at this point. I mean, they have so many memes and so many clips of Carlos or people saying, oh, we're the king of poaching. And every season, they even, with them being in Berlin now, he was like, oh, poaching season's coming up. And it's like, it just doesn't matter at this point.
It literally has like all these times, like, we're going to sign Simple. Oh, we're going to take 10s, by the way. It's like he makes jokes about it, and we're laughing about it because for some reason we're not taking it as seriously as we probably should be. And it almost sucked. It's like it's kind of gone with the brand, and they've oddly embraced poaching as some sort of joke. But if we can reach that finality of if Riot Games issues a punishment, which they have done, they've done recently. Back in Valorant, not too long ago, they issued a fine to 100 Thieves, and they called them out, and there was a big old back and forth there. So they have the resources to find these kind of things out, and if there is something going on that is wrong, I hope they actually pursue it.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like it was anything too serious. As we know, G2 has been interested in, I believe it's Flacked, which is from their academy team, as well as Carzy, and trying to entertain stuff. And so it was likely, I mean, they're getting a trial run or a tryout with Flacked, I believe. And so Mad Lions still granted them that, but it was probably like they heard some whisperings of like, oh, they're already talking to these players and like seeing if they were interested, but we still want to give them a tryout anyway. So I think it's all fine. At the end of the day, my opinion, just enforce the current rules. Otherwise, it's going to keep being a joke, which G2 obviously is going to embrace.
Yeah, they have not faced a severe punishment for it. Hence, they're going to keep joking about it. Yeah. So, brought to us by Jacob Wolf, G2 accused of tampering the same day they take down Sentinels. Quite the roller coaster for sure. Couple short ones to end the episode. It is, wow, Call of Duty beta going on. Beta codes giving out all weekend long. People DMing me. I don't know who tagged me in a freaking post. They were like, I heard you got a code. And I'm like, I do not. I'm really drunk right now. So we are already seeing issues. A lot of pros out there. I would say so far a variety of complaints. The one that I saw, I believe, from Blast is like, what do we expect anymore? This is Call of Duty. But there have been a lot of high notes as well, which we always see. It's a beta. It's rolling out. The big one we have seen is hackers already entering the Call of Duty beta, which nobody is surprised by, but it does make you really freaking curious. So if we're in beta, are they really waiting all the way to the freaking release? And is it going to be a complete flip of the switch where, oh yeah, here it is. It works completely.
It is interesting. We've seen these clips come out of wall hacks already and people just snapping and snapping. It's like, oh no, is this going to be another year of just a hacker hell basically at this point?
I saw Joe Woe. I don't even know if it was, I saw Joe Woe. If you guys don't know NRG, Joe, he was tweeting out, he just tweeted out a picture of his screen and the most obvious like red squares. He was like, wait, this isn't normal. It's like, I was like, oh my God.
And so it does beg the question, like, will it get better? A lot of people are saying, hey, this is beta, so of course they're not going to have the anti-cheat in it because we don't want people to, like, I don't know anything about tech, but maybe betas are easier for hackers to like figure out and get the anti-cheat from, or maybe they need the full release with the full file for the game, you know, for the anti-cheat to really be involved. And so who really knows the situation? But of course, some people are getting nervous about that. And others are like, no big deal. It'll be here when it gets here.
I don't know, man. I have trust issues as it is already, let alone with Call of Duty. So it's not a great look.
Right.
It's always fun to watch the clips, and it's almost like G2 with poaching, Call of Duty and hacking have almost become synonymous over the past year.
Which I'll say, and maybe this is a little bit of a transition, but we've seen Call of Duty progressively get worse and worse through the years as far as hackers. And I say that, but a lot of the old games, I think, at the day and age when they were released did not have a lot of hackers. But then you moved on to, you know, the next generation and the next one, and those old games started getting
really bad,
full of hackers. And that was kind of the natural progression where you expected it to happen after you leave. You join a Modern Warfare 2 lobby when, you know, Black Ops 3 is out, and you're going to immediately hit max prestige because people are botting the lobbies. And so back in the day, of course, we saw people loving the games, and now we even have Scump talking about this, saying, man, I don't think there's ever going to be another COD. He specifically was talking about Black Ops 2 at this time. This was the golden age of COD. It has just gone downhill from this point.
Yeah, complete transition of topics, by the way. Yeah. One of our last two is going to be all around Scump and the things he has said in the past week, because it's been a wild ride for Scump that we assume he's going to be signing a contract for at least another year of Call of Duty, and now coming out to say that just you can't really go back. And I would say a lot of people who have played Call of Duty and have their favorite Call of Duties, I'm going to go ahead and guess that your favorite Call of Duty is probably from at least several years ago. And there hasn't been one close to it since, because for me, it was always MW2, and I've never had that experience since.
Well, I think it's difficult, and part of it we can accredit, of course, us being younger. I think the nostalgic factor is like everything back then was better. I mean, old school RuneScape was super fun back then. Now today you go play it and you want to die after 10 minutes. So like, I understand that. And Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1 were those dream games for me. Pro scene wise, I loved the Black Ops 2 pro scene. I was a VVV fanboy back then, which does not exist anymore, but they're kind of, all those players are scattered at this point. And so part of me agrees with Scump and says this is the golden age, but we always hope that the next one will be just as good, I think, but I don't know if it'll ever happen.
It's like with each year that passes, are we getting closer to one of them being the greatest Call of Duty of all? Are we getting further away?
According to Doug Sensor Martin, yes.
According to Attach, yes. Yeah. Every single competitive season. But very lastly, speaking of the devil, is not Black Ops 2, but with Call of Duty Vanguard, one thing we love to see is Doc. Dr. Disrespect has been doing this challenge. I believe it's only going to be for 5 to 10 total autographed Doc vests. And at the point of us recording, it was late last night, he challenged Scumpy to get a nuke within 5 games on Vanguard.
While he was live. So Scump was live at the time, and Doc took to Twitter to tweet out, this picture of this so nice vest.
It's so sick.
It's in this, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a bulletproof glass or something like that, because he has the vest behind it, and he says, I'll give you this signed and send it to you if you drop a nuke in 5 games. And Scump, who's on stream, has Kevy, with one of his mods, end up responding, and he says, yeah, Scump accepts. Scump drops it the next game.
Let's go, Doc! Come on, Doc! Are you kidding me, Doc? Are you kidding me? That's how it's done, baby!
First game, he drops a nuke, and it's like, man, what the heck?
Again, it's beta.
Yeah.
But how good do you have to be to turn around live and be like, yeah, I've been doing this for how long now?
Right.
I'm trying to, like, on the way to work this morning, I was trying to compare it to, like, all right, going up to Kevin Durant, being like, all right, this next game against these, like, do you say middle schoolers or high schoolers? I need you to drop 65 points in the first half. And he's
Right.
like, all right, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give it like a real life comparison. I can't really think of a good one.
Right. I think I've gotten one nuke probably in my life of Call of Duties, like one.
I had maybe friends in the lobby with me, like,
Yeah.
helping me camp.
Exactly. And so it's just mind blowing, but also makes sense. Like, if you're gonna challenge a professional player and Scump at that, who has been around for so long and is obviously just dirty at the game, to get a nuke in pubs, it's just amazing to see a pro player like him just turn the switch on and just fry everyone in the lobby.
Yeah, and like, it just, like, for a second when he had his reaction, he could just tell how happy he was. Like, it's just like back in the day content, you know? And so it's great to see these moments. Doc losing that challenge, but it's also great promotion because he wants to give these away.
Right.
I think the last one was to Bobby Poff, who also succeeded, I want to say. And only 5 to 10 total signed ones will be given out. So it's a great thing for Doc to just give back and not only promote himself, but the person he's giving it to.
Yep.
And we love to see it. Scump took down Doc's challenge. Who's going to take it down next? But as per usual, hope you guys all enjoy the Esports Rewind podcast. We break down stories every single week of the same day, same time. And it's next time.
We'll be here.
Yeah,
we aren't allowed to leave these chairs, so please come back, guys.
Please come back. If you don't, we can't leave. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Okay,
bye.
Bye. Last one. Bye.